Hello, guys. So, due to our constrained time, I have created this lecture so you can better understand Marieb's chapter of the digestive system. So, let us begin. So, remember that the digestive system is important. So, we cannot just digest food, but also absorb nutrients needed not just for the survival of our cells, but also perform and function as an organism. Your digestive system has two components. You have the alimentary canal and the accessory organs. Let's now first discuss your alimentary canal. Now, here is your alimentary canal. Here in your slide, you can see that the alimentary canal is labeled in bold letters. So first is it will start with the oral cavity down to your pharynx, esophagus, to your stomach, down to your small intestine, which has three components, your duodenum, jejunum, and ileum, and of course your large intestine, and it will end into your anus. Let us first tackle your oral cavity. Now, this is your oral cavity, the one in sagittal view and the anterior view. Remember that your oral cavity, as you can see here, the anterior opening will be your lips. Ito yon. Okay? The lateral wall is your cheeks, or the medical term would be bucca. For the lips, it's labia. Okay? While the roof, yung pinaka-bubong, would be your palate. In Filipino, it's ngala-ngala. Ngayon, yung ating palate, our palate, on the anterior aspect, it would be the hard palate, yung matigas. And the posterior, yung mas nasa likod, would be your soft palate. So, makikita mo dito, as you can see here, bakit siya matigas? Because there is a bone. Okay? There is a bone, okay, that serves as support for your anterior palate. While the soft palate is soft, the name itself, it's soft palate, para mas magaan lumunok at mas madaling lumunok. Now, look at this one. The one that is hanging, okay? The one that is hanging, parang laman, okay? Akala kasi ng iba, that is your tonsil. But actually, the proper name for this is your uvula. And the true tonsil would be lateral to your uvula. We have the left and the right. And, okay, makikita nyo rin dito, okay, mga important structures would be your lingual frenulum. Your lingual frenulum is the fold of mucous membrane that secures the tongue at the base of the oral cavity. Remember that your tonsil is very important because it is a lymphatic organ, okay, that will protect the body from certain microorganisms. So, ito yung mga important structures in your oral cavity. So, you have here your uvula, your vestibule. Vestibule is the space between the teeth and the lips. Okay? So, may tawag doon. Okay? Your lingual frenulum, nasabi ko na, and your tonsils. Also, we must not forget the gingiva. Okay? Yun yung ating medical term for our gums. Now, after the mouth, you have now here your pharynx. Okay? So, as you can see here, your pharynx is the common passageway of both your food and air. Our pharynx has three parts. You have the nasopharynx, the oropharynx, and laryngopharynx. The nasopharynx, air lang ang papasok dyan. Okay? So, makikita mo naman pagka humihinga tayo. Okay, so nasopharynx. And the oropharynx is the common passageway of both food and air. Pero, pagdating sa ating laryngopharynx, air lang ang dapat makadaan doon. Kasi kung may solid particle ka, ang mangyayari niyan, uubo ka. Now, after the pharynx, so halimbawa kumain ka, ninguya mo na from your oral cavity, okay? pupunta na yan sa pharynx mo, at bababa na yan sa iyong esophagus. So as you can see here, your esophagus is the connection and passageway of food between the oral cavity and the stomach. Now, its layers from deep to superficial. Number one would be your mucosa. Ito yung pinakaloob. Okay? Then next would be your submucosa, the muscularis externa, and of course, yung pinakalabas would be serosa. So halimbawa, nurse ka na at mag-a-assist ka sa operating room. Pagka naghiwa, nakita mo, ang unang-unang layer na makikita mo sa esophagus would be the serosa. Tandaan, ang laging in contact with your food is your mucosa. Again, ang pinaka-outermost layer would be your serosa, while the layer in contact with food is your mucosa. Now, ano pa yung mga important structures that you need to know? Now, as you can see here, you have here your muscularis externa, the muscle layer, kaya yan gumagalaw, nagpropel ng food through this mechanism called peristalsis, because it is composed of two muscle layers. You have the longitudinal muscle layer and the circular muscle layer. Alright? And makikita ninyo that in your submucosa, your submucosa is highly innervated. Ito ang nag-generate para gumalaw ang iyong muscularis externa. Okay? Now, let's move on to your stomach. So, halimbawa, pumunta na yung food, bumagsak na sa esophagus, ipropropel niya. You have here your stomach. Now, the major parts of the stomach would be the cardia. So, dito na yung papasok. Remember that the cardia is a sphincter. It's like a valve. It's like a gate. Okay? It contains your cardioesophageal sphincter. Now, papasok dito food, tapos pupunta yan sa fundus. Ito naman yung superior or uppermost part of your stomach. Bababa ang pagkain, papunta sa body, and you have two curvatures here in your stomach. Okay? You have here, the most medial part would be the lesser curvature, at yung mas lateral would be your greater curvature. Then, your food will now go down to your pyloric antrum. So this is the antrum. Okay? The plural would be antra. Okay? And then you have here, as you can see here, you have your pyloric sphincter. The pyloric sphincter is the demarcation that the food is about to exit the stomach. So, meron ulit valve dyan. So, ano ang mga clinical significance ng ating mga valves? So, as you can see here, kapag ka maluwag masyado ang iyong cardioesophageal sphincter, ito yung dahilan kung bakit ka nag-GERD, nagre-reflux, or ito rin yung dahilan kung bakit ka nagkakaroon ng heartburn. Bakit? Pagka sobrang, dami kang kinain, busog na busog, parang puputok na yung tiyan mo, ang tendency lumuluwag yan. Okay? Pagka lumuwag yan, pwede yung acid umakyat papunta dun sa esophagus. And remember, the esophagus, pag umaabot yan hanggang lalamunan, hanggang dibdib, ito yung nararamdaman mong masakit ng dibdib. Now, let's go to another picture of your stomach. So this is the gross, no? The gross photo of your stomach. So makita mo kulubot yan. Now, let's now go to your microscopic anatomy of your stomach. As you can see here, okay, you have here your pits. So, nandito tayo sa mucosa. Okay, mucosa ng stomach. So, you have here the gastric pit. Okay, at mas malalim pa would be your gastric gland. Remember that your gastric gland will be composed of several cells. So, makikita mo halo-halo sila dito. Okay? You have here your, syempre, ang pinakaibabaw would be your mucous neck cells. Okay? You have here your parietal cells, you have your chief cells. And of course, yung kulay green would be your enteroendocrine cells. So, para saan ang mga cells na yan? So, sabi dito kay Marieb, the chief cells is the one responsible for your pepsinogen. Your parietal cells is the one responsible for producing your hydrochloric acid and intrinsic factor. Your mucous neck cells is the one responsible for producing your mucus. And your enteroendocrine cells is the one responsible for producing your gastrin hormone. So, paano nagsisimula yan? Ngayon, for example, dun pa lang, no, may naamoy kang masarap. Amoy masarap, gutom ka. Ang unang-unang nagre-react would be your enteroendocrine cells. Your enteroendocrine cells will be producing the gastrin hormone. This gastrin hormone will now be in contact with your parietal cells and your chief cells. Your chief cells again will produce this pepsinogen, and your parietal cells will produce your hydrochloric acid. Your hydrochloric acid will be in contact with pepsinogen so that it can produce pepsin. This is the end product. Okay? At the same time, okay, your gastrin will also be in contact with your mucous neck cells so that it can produce your mucus. Mucus ang magpo-protect sa lining ng mucosa ng stomach para hindi siya malusaw ng iyong hydrochloric acid. So, remember that pepsinogen must be converted by hydrochloric acid to pepsin. And pepsin is the one responsible for the breakdown of protein that we eat. Remember also that the stomach lumen or the mucosa is covered with mucus, so it can protect itself from the harmful effects of your hydrochloric acid and your pepsin. Okay? And remember that when food has been turned into liquid, it is now called bolus. Okay? And shall now enter the small intestine, passing through the pyloric sphincter. Sorry, okay. Pagka-solid pa lang ang food, let me correct myself. Pagka-solid pa lang ang food, okay, the food is called bolus. Pero kapag ka naging liquid na ito, it will now be called chyme. Okay? Your chyme. C-H-Y-M-E. Pasensya na kayo kasi natakpan ang mukha ko. Natakpan ng mukha ko yung word na chyme or chyme. Okay? C-H-Y-M-E. Pagka-liquid na siya, nalusaw na ng pepsin at saka ng hydrochloric acid, magiging chyme na siya. Now, the ingestion of your food, pagka nasa bibig na or kahit na amoy na, leads to production of your gastrin by the stomach cells and triggers the release of pepsinogen, hydrochloric acid, and mucus, which I explained a while ago. So, pagkatapos malusaw na nung pagkain, naging liquid na siya, papasok na ang chyme sa iyong small intestine. Sabi dito, according to Marieb, it is the body's major digestive organ and the one responsible for absorbing nutrients from the chyme that the stomach produced. Meron tayong three major parts, from proximal to the distal part. You have here your duodenum, jejunum, and your ileum. Your ileum will contain the ileocecal valve. This is the anatomical division between the small and the large intestine. Okay? So, yun ang pagtatapos ng iyong small intestine. This is your ileocecal valve. As you can see here, your duodenum is C-shaped. C-shaped. Where digestive juices from the pancreas and bile from the gallbladder are secreted through your major duodenal papilla. So, itong butas na ito, nakikita mo is your major duodenal papilla. Now, you see here, you have here your liver. Your liver is the one responsible for producing bile. Okay? Ito yung papaitan natin. Now, this bile will now be stored here in your gallbladder. Para saan ba yung bile? Yung bile kasi needed para mag-break down yung mga taba o lang mantika na nakain mo. At the same time, kapag ka nandun na yung chyme, okay, mararamdaman ng small intestine mo yan. At isisignal niya si gallbladder para mag-release, okay, mag-release ng bile. Remember that the bile is only storage, not the one producing your bile. It is the liver that will produce your bile. So, pag-produce or pag-secrete ng bile, sasama siya with, okay, the enzymes from the pancreas, and it will be combined and it will be secreted here in your major duodenal papilla in your duodenum. Now, pansinin ninyo, okay, etong picture na ito. Alright? Now, you have here your circular folds or plicae circularis. This is your small intestine na zoom lang natin. Ano ba ang nasa mucosa or sa lumen ng iyong small intestine? So makikita mo, parang tupi-tupi. Okay? Sa bawat tupi, it's called your circular folds or plicae circularis. Now, sa isang fold, makikita mo, you have here, okay? You have here a villi. Okay? You have here your villi. In your villi, pag sabing villi, these are finger-like structures. Sa isang villi, may milyon-milyon pang microvilli. Okay? So, this microvilli, kaya siya naka-fold para magkasya lahat. Okay? So that it has a larger surface area. Now, kaya siya folded para din also more nutrients can be absorbed. Now, microscopically, as you can see here, you have here 3 components in your villi. Tatlo yan. You have the red, the green, and the blue. The red one will signify that there is artery. Okay? And here, the lymph, the green. No? The green is the lymph. The lymph drainage. Dito nagka-travel ang mga white blood cells mo. Okay? So, meron din siyang protection para hindi very vulnerable kasi alam naman natin mga kinakain natin minsan maraming mga harmful microorganisms. Then you have here the vein, yung kulay blue. Remember that your microvilli is your brush border. So alam mo na kung bakit parang, di ba, I'm sure marami naman sa inyo nakakain na ng kare-kare. Yung tuwalya. The tuwalya is the small intestine. Now, as you can see here, ito yung sinabi ko kanina, the lumen is arranged in folds called your plicae circularis. Each fold is covered with villi. Each villi is covered with microvilli, all of which were designed to enhance absorption of nutrients from the chyme. So, hihigupin yun ng nutrients. Now, your small intestine is rich in lymphoid organs, your Peyer's patches, and lacteals in order to defend itself from harmful microorganisms. So, after a long pathway of your small intestine, your chyme will now travel into your large intestine. So makikita mo that the large intestine, okay, ang kanyang function is to dry out indigestible material. Okay, ito na yung tira-tira. Particularly, ang kanyang talagang ina-absorb ay water na lang. The major parts from proximal to distal would be your remember, the small intestine, ang kanyang last part will be your ileocecal valve. Pagkatapos nun, okay, your chyme will now enter your cecum. This is the first major part of your large intestine. Now, from your cecum, up here to your ascending colon, to your transverse colon, down to your descending colon. Okay, you have here your sigmoid colon also, okay, as part of the descending colon to your rectum and where it will exit yung iyong anus. The anus have two, okay, your anuses have two sphincters. You have the internal and external sphincter. At masasabi ko dito at ang nakalagay dito would be yung external sphincter kasi ito lang ang voluntary na kaya nating buksan at kaya nating isara. So pagka duming-dumi ka na, bawa, duming-dumi ka na, no, hindi mo na mapigilan, Kaya ka nakakaramdam nun, it's your internal sphincter kasi wala tayong choice. Kasi yan ay involuntary. Pero kaya mo siya napipigilan, it's because of your external sphincter. Now, kapag ka tinignan mo ang large intestine versus your small intestine, meron silang pagkakaiba. So, umpisa, kapag ka nakapag-assist ka sa operating, it will be really difficult. Okay? Which is which? Pero, how do we know that it is the large intestine? So, sabi dito, you have the presence of your haustrum or your haustra. So, makikita mo, ito yon, no? Yung parang kulukulubot. Okay? That is your haustra or your haustrum. You have here your taenia coli. Your taenia coli, ito yung nasa gitna. Okay? And of course, you have your hanging fat droplets. Okay? Or your epiploic fat. Remember that your large intestine, ang kanyang i-absorb will only be water. The nutrients will be your small intestine. Okay? In your alimentary canal, digestion starts at the oral cavity. Let's talk about your accessory organs. Your accessory organs, okay? So first is it will start with your ngipin. But I will not discuss this further because pang mga dentist lang talaga yan. But what is very important, okay, that you should know, okay, ang unang-unang ngipin na lumalabas be around 6 months. Okay? And this would be your, asan na yun? Your central incisors sa baba. Okay? Yan ang unang-unang ngipin. And the major parts of your teeth would be your crown, you have here your neck, and your root. Okay? So, alam mo na kung bakit root canal. Ito yan. And also, the outermost layer of your teeth. Okay? The covering of your crown would be called your enamel. So, ano pa ang mga accessory organs? Accessory organs will include your salivary glands. So, as you can see here, you have here your parotid gland and 2 submandibular glands. Parotid glands, nandito lang yan, no? Just anterior to your ear. Okay? So, sabi dito, your saliva will contain salivary amylase for the digestion of your carbohydrates. Amylase again for the digestion of your carbohydrates. And also, you must take note that your saliva will contain lysozymes and immunoglobulin A to defend us from harmful microorganisms. Now, besides your salivary glands, ang mga iba pang tumutunaw sa ating mga kinakain, tumutulong sa pagtunaw would be your pancreas. So makikita mo meron siyang 3 major enzymes. You have here your pancreatic amylase, pancreatic lipase, and pancreatic proteases. Your amylase is the one again responsible for the digestion of your carbohydrates. And you have here your pancreatic lipase for the digestion of your fats. Your pancreas also will produce your proteases. So actually maraming proteases yan sa kay Marieb. But the major 3 would be your chymotrypsin, your trypsin, or carboxypeptidase. So as you can see here, the location of your pancreas is posterior to the stomach. So nasa likuran pa siya. So kailangan mo pang iangat yung stomach para makita mo ang iyong pancreas. Your pancreas has 3 parts. You have here the head, the neck, and the tail. Okay? So maliwanag. Again, pancreas needed for the digestion of your 3 major groups of your nutrients. You have your carbohydrates, your fats, your protein, amylase, lipase, proteases, respectively. Now, let's now go to your liver and gallbladder. In your liver and gallbladder, found at the right upper quadrant of your abdomen, remember that your liver will produce your bile, okay, for the emulsification of your fats, and your gallbladder, ang kanyang pinakasilbi will only be storage, okay, storage of your bile. So, what are your gastrointestinal processes and your controls? So, here, as you can see here, you have your ingestion, propulsion, mechanical breakdown, digestion, absorption, and defecation. So, pagdating sa ingestion, ito na yung ningunguya natin. Okay? Then down to your, meron tayo kasi ditong mechanical breakdown. Mechanical breakdown can be, can be found into three parts. You have here sa mouth when you are chewing or masticating. You have here your stomach. Gumagalaw rin siya. So, tumutulong siya for mechanical breakdown. The term is churning, no? And you have your small intestine. It segments. So, pinipira-piraso pa ng small intestine mo yung ating kinain or particularly your kind. Then, you have here your propulsion. So, sabi dito your propulsion, you have your oropharynx, pantulak. When you say propulsion is tinutulak. Okay? And all parts of your alimentary canal except the mouth, okay, na nagpe-peristalsis. This is the movement. Okay? Then, after that, you have your digestion. Digestion, ito yung nagsisecrete ng mga enzymes, acid, no, to break down further yung ating kinain. Then, you also have here absorption. Absorption can be absorbed, okay, mainly by your blood vessels in your small intestine. Okay? And the last would be yung mga tira-tira, kung saan ilalabasan natin yung mga natira, would be defecation. Remember, absorption again of nutrients sa small intestine, pagka water, mainly water, ay sa large intestine. Defecation, okay, so you have your rectum and your anus. So what is peristalsis? Kanina pa natin yan pinag-uusapan, yung peristalsis na yan. As you can see here, when it comes to peristalsis ng stomach, you have three steps. You have the propulsion, the grinding or the churning, and you have your retropulsion. Okay, so bumabalik-balik. So, kaya pagka kasi sa last step at maluwag ang iyong cardiac sphincter or cardioesophageal sphincter, ito yung pwede kang magkaroon ng GERD or heartburn. Now, let's discuss about digestion and absorption. So, makikita naman natin, there are three major nutrient groups. Your carbohydrates, proteins, and your fats. Again, three major nutrient groups. You have your carbohydrate, proteins, and your fats. So, pag-usapan natin si carbohydrates. So, ano ba yung carbohydrates natin? You have your starch, your polysaccharide, okay, and your monosaccharides. Remember, ang tinatanggap lang ng katawan natin of all would be your glucose. Glucose ang pinaka number one. Okay? So, ano mga nagpapatunaw dito? So, first, para yung polysaccharides mo maging glucose, kailangan matunaw ng salivary amylase. Nag-uumpisa sa bibig. Then, of course, you have your small intestine. Okay? Your small intestine contains your pancreatic amylase. Then, it will now be absorbed by your microvilli. Paano naman si proteins? Si proteins mo, ang bukod tanging ina-absorb lang ng iyong small intestine would be amino acids and some dipeptides and tripeptides. So, paano nagsa-start yan? Tandaan, protein digestion will start in your stomach by your pepsin. Where does your pepsin start? It comes from your pepsinogen that is converted to pepsin by the conversion of your hydrochloric acid, okay, to your pepsinogen. So, again, your hydrochloric acid will convert your pepsinogen to pepsin. Then, you have here your pancreatic enzymes such as your trypsin, your chymotrypsin, and your carboxypeptidase. Then, it will now be absorbed. Kapag ka na-convert na into amino acids, then ito na yung ina-absorb na ng katawan. Now, paano naman si fats? In your fats, yung unemulsified fats, ito yung sariwa. Halimbawa, kumain ka ng lechon or crispy pata, so mamantika talaga. So, makikita mo si iyong gallbladder will release the bile so that it can be emulsified. Then, once yung ating emulsified fats will now be in contact with your pancreatic lipase. Okay? Your pancreatic lipase. In your pancreatic lipase, your fats, emulsified fats, okay, will be converted into fatty acids and your glycerol. Now, your glycerol and fatty acids, kapag inabsorb, so ito lang yung ina-absorb ng ating small intestine. Pagka inabsorb, ito yung pwedeng maging cholesterol sa dugo. Now, let's talk about your carbohydrate, protein, and fat metabolism. So, let's start with your carbohydrates. So, makikita ninyo that your carbohydrates, polysaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharide lang, tandaan ninyo, glucose lang ang ina-absorb ng ating katawan. Okay? So, as you can see, monosaccharide, particularly glucose, wherein, okay, your glucose can be immediately converted to energy. Mabilis lang, di ba? Yung excess glucose, pag hindi mo na-burn or hindi mo na-gamit as energy ang glucose, it will be stored into two, either glycogen or your fat. So, iwas-iwas tayo sa maraming sugar. Then, you have here yung fat metabolism. Okay, so kumain ka ng mamantika. Okay, it will be metabolized by your liver by secreting bile, stored doon sa iyong gallbladder, plus your pancreatic lipases. Then, also, it can also serve as energy. Okay, so your fats can also give off adenosine triphosphate. Okay, it can only be used when you are under starvation. Okay, so ito na pagka nagda-diet. Kaya tayo nagda-diet kasi pumapayat ka. And remember, in protein metabolism, so this is your protein, okay, na kailangan ma-convert into amino acids or ma-digest into amino acids. Dalawa ang pwedeng mag-digest sa ating protein. It will be your pepsin, okay, in your stomach, and your pancreatic proteases such as your trypsin, chymotrypsin, and your carboxypeptidases. Tandaan, amino acids lang ang tinatanggap ng small intestine para ma-absorb. So, all of this, okay? So, paano siya nag-generate ng energy? Paano tayo nag-generate ng energy? All of this, your carbohydrates, your protein and fats, okay? Lahat yon, amino acids, glucose, and your fatty acids will now enter your citric acid cycle, electron transport chain, or ating cellular metabolic furnace, also known as your Krebs cycle. Okay? At ang pinaka-waste product nito would be your carbon dioxide and water. And kailangan doon sa ating Krebs cycle or sa ating electron transport chain and citric acid cycle, dito tayo nagpo-produce ng energy. Again, the waste product of your Krebs cycle, this is your Krebs cycle, is carbon dioxide and water. Okay? So, I hope naintindihan ninyo yung ating digestive system. So, this is only a guide. I still want you to read Marieb's chapter of the digestive system.